So in your head, you have this sort of view that people are talking about you, or that that people are sort of running you down. You often don't have that sort of conceptualization, at least in my head, that people are positive and rooting me on, and thinking about how amazing that you are. Like that never happens, right? So at least in my head, I have this very negative view of, and I don't know why, I don't understand the psychology. I'm sure that there is, but I ruminate a lot about how other people are looking down on me and sort of perceiving me in a poor way. And then as a consequence, I sort of imagine, either kind of, you know, yelling or thinking that constantly sort of gossiping and thinking that, oh, you know this person is trash, what does this person actually know? um, but in reality, sort of what real life happens is that nobody cares about other people, right? Like, you have to admit that they're only caring about themselves, right? So despite the fact that you have this sort of negative view and people are constantly talking about you in your head, um, it's the opposite, that people don't care. They will never even think about you. It might come up at a dinner conversation at one point saying, oh, what is this person doing? They're crazy. But other than that, most people's lives are so focused on themselves that they are completely ignoring what you're doing. And we all have these sort of conceptions that this is going on. At least I do. And I don't know if it's because when I grew up, I always felt that I was very much an outsider. I always felt like, and there was moments where, people did make fun of me in high school, actually a fair bit. Um, and, I did feel isolated. And every time I would go around people, they would make, you know, they would not make me feel good. Let's just say that. And so that is deeply ingrained in who I am. So I don't know if that's just me and my own psychology, but I don't think that's actually the case. I think it's pretty generalizable that a lot of people feel this way. That we have all of this. In my mind, this is what it looks like, right? Like, it looks like people are shouting at me in a very negative way, and it's like very large people that are shouting at me. Um, I, and this is taken a lot of work to get through this, um, and how this this is viewed, and I still think it's baggage that I have, and I probably still need a fair bit more work of thinking through this, or getting just dealing with it. But ultimately, you have to realize that everybody is very self-centered, right? And if you imagine, you think about that, instead of thinking that they're thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves. When you come to that and you realize that, you begin to think like, oh, wait a minute, like, who cares, right? Like, why should I even be thinking about whoever it is? Maybe it's a generalized group of people, or specific people. And why does that matter, right? Like, that doesn't matter at all. We need to sort of just say, I'm going to get up and do my thing, and I'm going to be okay with that. Um, and if you get that in your head, that everybody is self-centered, it's such a powerful thing, and it seems like it's really bad. um, where you are thinking in your head that everybody is self-centered. It sounds like a bad thing, but it's not, when you frame it in such a way that it's freeing, right? That means that you could just do whatever the hell that you want, in the sense that it's positive, right? I'm not saying go do negative things. I'm saying go do positive things. You can do whatever the hell that you want, and nobody's going to care because they're so focused on themselves. It's very freeing, um, in terms of what you can do and how you feel about yourself. And I've become more aware of that, as I do the reciprocity project, right? Like I realize that, man, nobody cares, but that's okay. And that's where you need to take a step back and realize, like, hey, that's a gift that nobody cares. That means you could do some pretty extraordinary things in your life that you can, um, that you could just live your life in as joyful and as sort of plentiful way as you possibly can, and ignore the rest of it, right? That's where you think like, okay, I'm gonna have these moments where I'm gonna have this sort of imaginary yelling in my head from other people, um, but that's a fiction. That's Nobody is actually talking about you. Nobody is thinking about you. The most common scenario is that they're completely ignoring who you are and they don't care, right? And that is a good thing because then that sort of fiction that you have in your mind, it doesn't matter. And that's when you're thinking like, wait a minute, that's a fiction. That's something I made up. That's something that I need to work through myself to get through, right? I want you to sort of think through that as you're going through, whatever it is. You're not living up to standards, that people are upset with you or whatever, right? That's where you have to come to terms with, okay, this is on me. This is not on other people. This is on me, that I have to accept myself for who I am. I'm always going to have that sort of negative conception in my head of generalized folks, probably from growing up, but probably not. Um, that's where I'm going to have to just accept and work on that. This is on me. It's not on other people. This is on me learning to come to terms with, I am a decent person and I really need to accept me for who I am. And I need to sort of center myself in that, right? So it's not necessarily thinking about um, other people sort of being the problem. That's where you come in and come to terms with, like, hey, wait a minute, this is me. I need to take responsibility of all of these moments. If somebody treated me poorly, that was on me because I let them do that, right? Like I brought those people in my life, and that's where I need to be more careful the next time, right? I have to take responsibility of that. If things are not going as I would like to, well, then we need to sort of work on that as well. That's where we need to take some steps forward and think about how I can change this and make my life better, in various different ways. For me, for a long time, I was trying to perfect myself, right? Like for 20 years, well, probably longer than that, I was trying to perfect myself. But trying to get to a point where if I work harder, I do more, then everybody's going to be pleased with me. And the fact is that they don't care, right? Like they're not even, it's not even in their wheelhouse. They will never sort of even think about you. And so that's where you have to come to terms with, this is where me in the last, for the last probably 3 or 4 years of letting go of some of those notions and accepting me for who I am at this given moment, because I need to work on that. Um, and I hope you do the same thing. I hope you're thinking about that in terms of, how can I work on me and take responsibility for myself? It's not on other people. They don't care. The answer is they don't care. And so I need to think about that. Right? The only time that people do care is when they bump into you in their boundaries of life. Um, and those people that don't care, they probably are not, they're that kind of person across the board, right? No matter who they bump into, that's just who they are. And that's where you need to take a step back and say, how do I work on me? And so if somebody is like that in my life, how do I take a step back from them? How do I, accept me for who I am, and how do I work on those things so that I can be better and I can live a healthier, fuller life? I think thinking about this is such an important part of how we deal with everything that we encounter in our day to day. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.